Oh, wait, that started it. ah, Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today I'm joined by Vector Maximus and Nyumcraft, and we are discussing unit graphics and how they are assigned, and how the readability of all of that works, as well as Sweden afterwards. Because as far as I understand it, this is a really short one, so this shouldn't take all that long, and then we will zip along to Sweden because apparently they're releasing stuff all week this week, basically. So take that as you will. Uh, but yes, another Tinto talk for EU5. But this is very exciting because, as they're saying, it's the first time that they're going in depth on one of the visual systems in the game because they have been very keen on not explaining or showing us any of the visuals until the actual down to earth game until they announced it. So it's very exciting once they did show us that, and now they're going to explain how some of the logic behind it works. But of course, it is all work in progress. Armies are one of the most important features in the game. And certainly, combat is one of the most exciting things to interact with, so we thought it was important to get the feeling just right. Unlike in previous games, armies appear as groups composed of multiple individual soldiers. The number of soldiers reflects the size of the army. The median army size is about 15 models. However, they do range from a minimum of 1 soldier to a maximum of 30 in very extreme cases.
I can't wait for the true EU5 experience of despair where you're playing as the Byzantines, the Ottomans have blobbed to infinity, and Constantinople is being marched on by 30 to your army of one defending it. You're one peasant with a pitchfork versus Ottomans with cannons and professional soldiers.
What are you talking about, Vector? The walls of Constantinople have never fallen. They will definitely hold.
They do apparently get an event at the beginning of the game where they can choose to renovate the Theodosian walls or let them continue to crumble. And if you renovate them, they become the strong. You'll upgrade their fort to become like the strongest fort on the map. So
Jeffrey, the strongest fort doesn't help if you can't hold it with an army.
true, but we've
And
seen
the other
in Lambert's video how costly an assault is still.
the other problem with forts, Joffrey, is that we saw in the one of the other videos how much money it costs to update it. You don't have that kind of cash.
But it's through an event. It's through an event, so
No,
I
what I
don't
mean is like
remember.
that costs money.
It does. I just don't remember the specific price of it. But in any case, you will simply need to outblob the Turk, and theoretically, it's not going to be guaranteed that the Turks win, but I do believe they might need to lower the Ottomans' power a little bit, seeing as everyone keeps describing them as being the one faction in the game that you could do a world conquest with, which should not be the case. If there should not be one faction that is just the one you could do it with. If it's possible, then it should be possible for a lot of people, and if it's not going to be possible generally, then it shouldn't be. But uh, moving along, the thing that I'm very curious about is they're saying that the median army size is about 15. What does that mean in the context of like how many men though? Like median at what point in time? Because surely the average army size changes a lot as you go. They've explained how the number of pops per unit changes as the game goes on to be higher. Hmm. But I do definitely like that they say yeah, maximum and 30 in very extreme cases. So um, they're accounting for very large outliers, which is good because players are going to make that happen, especially in multiplayer and in mods. Because in our own planned mod, there definitely is going to be a couple factions or a couple of the fantasy races I can think of that are going to have some very large armies off rip. So. But it's the one little dude with his little glaive is kind of funny. Poor guy. Each soldier model is the representation of a specific regiment in your army, and aside from reflecting your country in its colors, it is also reflected in that specific regiment's unit type, culture, and ethnicity. This means that a unit model will have the appropriate weaponry for their unit type, for example, crossbowmen versus archers, but also that multi-ethnic empires will visibly have diverse armies in terms of uniform, style, and skin color. Because presumably, if you're recruiting professional troops from a certain location, no, professional troops don't use that. It's only levies that realistically would draw from a specific tile, right? Because
Well, no, because if you have a building, say, so as I understand it, you get manpower for professional armies using buildings in particular areas, pulling from a particular pop pool
yeah,
of soldier pops, which still have their own culture and religion. So you, as Great Britain, could have it so you've got a bunch of military buildings in Scotland, so the troops being constructed are pulling from those pools. I
maybe.
don't know.
It might take that into account and say this percentage of your manpower is from here, so we'll make your professional soldiers have these models. Um, but that is it's very interesting detail and is going to totally be hellish for modding purposes, but it'll still be interesting to mess around with for sure. Uh, it will need to be messed
Wait, wait,
around
wait. So
with.
if, for example, if you have a more multicultural army, they're saying that they'll reflect that in the regiments.
Yep. Yep.
That's kind of crazy to think about. Okay.
If you're playing
Like you said,
as
it'll be hellish for modders though.
if you're playing as Big Turk and you conquer the Greeks, and you accept the Greeks, you'll have your levies will both be Greek and Turkish in their appearance theoretically. Then
See, what I want to see more than anything else is the Delhi Sultanate army. What is
oh
their composition looking like at the moment?
oh no! Don't speak of such things now.
They must know.
The world does not need to see such disgusting things. Hello, Hot Pockets. Hello, hello. We're still just getting started here, discussing the way that units work. Very interesting stuff. Jo Jorpy, mein friend. Yes, yes. Jorpy. I am Jorpy. Yes. Yes. So what are these? Yeah, so it's showing us crossbows, for example. So this is presumably an entire just stack of crossbowmen. Hmm. And then archers, yeah. Hmm. That'll be interesting for when you, because presumably this means when you create a unit, um, you choose what its model looks like. So, hmm.
Well, there's something I'm confused about. Is that it goes up to a maximum of 30, right? So
Yes.
let's say you have a stack of 30 and a stack of like 45. You won't be able to tell the difference visually, at least.
Well, it's not. Oh yeah, it said it's representative of an individual regiment, but there's no way that it's like actually per regiment, including levies, right?
I just don't see how that would work out if you're
It's
because at that
scales.
point
Okay,
later in the
good,
game
good.
it's but that's the thing though. I don't know how it scales because would one regiment later in the game be or would one guy on the field be indicative of like one regiment, 5, 10? That doesn't make sense. At least I would need to understand that better.
I don't think that's gonna be math we'll understand until we see the game's code, though.
Yeah, yeah.
But you could
I just
probably mess
want to be
around
able
with
to
it then.
visually see like which army's bigger than which. That's all I want.
Well, I think that is the intention behind it. It's just that as the game goes on, it'll scale more so that remember, a regiment in the late game is thousands of guys, so a whole army of 30 would be huge. Yeah, yeah. So the point being that yeah, a whole army of 30 dudes by the end of the game would be very different from an army of 30 dudes at the beginning, presumably. Then,
Oh,
if
so
it's
what you're
based on the
saying
number of
is it's not the
regiments.
number of regiments that scales, it's how big each regiment is.
No, the opposite. It's how theoretically it's how many regiments are in it, right?
No. What Hot Pocket is saying is that 30 regiments is an army of 72,000. Of if each regiment is 2.4k. So I think what he's saying is that the regiment gets bigger later on.
Is well then does that? Well, yes, it does. That is a fact. The question I have then is because they said that each of these models is tied to a regiment, which to me means that every individual regiment that you have, including levies, changes. It adds another one of these, but that doesn't sound quite right. I would assume that it's based on the number of pops or the number of dudes, whatever pops, soldiers, in the stack. But it's being a little. You believe you read it in a dev
Can you go back
comment?
to the text? Maybe they explain it.
What did the?
Yeah, each soldier model is a representation of a specific regiment.
Which implies that there's no way that 30 regiments is like an extreme case though. That doesn't sound right.
Well, that's what I want to learn, right? How many regiments can you have, like in an army?
Because you'll have like you can only have a couple professional troops at the beginning of the game, but by like the age of colonialism, you can make a ton of professional troops because you'll have a lot more buildings. You can build buildings that make manpower in every town.
Because they're making
Number
it
of men,
sound
not
like
number
getting
of
to 30
regiments.
regiments is going to take you until the end of the game.
Number of men, not number of regiments. You're saying, George? Yeah, that's what I would assume. Because yeah, as you're saying as
Okay.
well, Nem, I'd expect it to be a case of by the end of the game is when you'd reach that, and that this example here, where we're seeing this huge Western European army, the 30 dudes, that doesn't like that shouldn't realistically be something that happens, and in reality, you'd only see 30 stacks in the earlier stages of the game, in like China and India. Because I could totally see, as we were
Yes.
talking about the Delhi Sultanate, you're like, I want to see what that looks like. It probably does look like a disgusting mismatch of dudes that amounts to up like in the 20s.
But again, they clearly did say here that it's based on regiments.
It's based
So
on expected army size. If your army is average size, it's 15 men. If your army is tiny as one person, oh, oh, that's
I
what they
don't like
said,
that at
George.
all. If it's based on expected size, that's relative for each nation.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we will need to look at the dev comments then. That's nuts then, because yeah, expected army size
That's
goes up
really
over time.
weird.
Well, the expected army size is not something that's typically based on a given country. It's age. It's typically something based on the age. So I don't think it's something that's based on individual countries. I'm pretty sure it's more
I'd
like
have to reread, but it's the way that they explained expected army size, at least. I don't know. Let's just keep reading, I guess.
all right, all right, all right. But yeah, crossbows, archers. Units are further randomized by picking some random texture material for each component. This is going to be so. Like, how much am I going to need to pay someone to mod this stuff for to like make me 3D assets for some of this stuff, dude? Like,
Okay. I like that you have three tiers. That makes sense to me.
leather or cloth. Generally, 3 tiers of troops per age to represent the weight of the unit. Peasant, soldier, knight.
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense to me. We don't need like 15 different tiers. That's a decent abstraction.
So, I mean, I don't really see much difference between these guys, though. Like,
I mean, I
Some
think you
are
can see the
wearing
difference in the
more
armor.
advanced armor, some are wearing
Yeah,
different
exactly.
helmets.
It's like some have plate, some just have leather, some have chain. I'm pretty sure that's the difference.
I
Yeah,
guess
some have gambesons.
I only see two distinctions, really. Yeah, the guys with the because there's the guys with just gambesons, but then there's this guy with the plate chest piece but no helmet, so he feels like he also belongs with them. And then it just immediately jumps to the guys with the advanced helmets and the chain under studded armor. Hmm. Uh, what you read, yes, it's useful. It makes it good to tell army sizes at a glance easier. The madness modding is going to be able to make is insane. So many dudes on a map. Yes, yes, exactly. You guys are here so that I don't have to read. Exactly. You just tell me what I'm gonna read. Wow, crazy.
Okay, so
Um,
Joffrey, they have three pictures. It's one for peasants, one for soldiers, one for knights. Let's look at those.
yeah, yeah. Um, oh boy. Oh, oh boy.
Yeah, a
Oh
bit
boy.
different, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, okay, by and large, most of the stuff when it comes to these, like most of our okay, there's a couple races that we'll need to really get some custom models for, but most of our different races are going to be able to be represented with just some more minor alterations to the skin tone and stuff. It won't
I
be
love
that
seeing
hard,
the
I
sheep in the
imagine.
background and then having these men be like 20 times the size.
Okay, as if that's been any different in any of the games. Even in Victoria, they
I'm
tower
not
over stuff.
complaining, Joffrey. I think it looks cool.
uh,
But okay, so the peasants, you can tell that they're peasants because they have really shitty weapons and they have no like they only have just their clothes, I
I
assume.
love the floppy hats. I'm curious what the other different variations that are going to exist on release will be, and what more they'll add
That's
through
also
DLC
true,
and
yeah.
stuff.
No, no, not another clothing pack.
Dude, without good this looks, I'll pay it. I'll pay it, dude. Let me take my money for more clothing packs like this. They look so good. All the different variations too. Dude, the lobster levies are gonna go hard, Eric. You got no idea. Just wait. Just
Okay, so
wait like
Joffrey,
7 years.
I think these are the soldiers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because it's the middle tier,
Yeah. And you
which
can tell they're soldiers because sure, some have like chest plates, some have like mail helmets, some have plate helmets, some have mail, but it's only partially armored. Only some of it is not entirely plate.
and then
It's like the middle ground.
this so it turns out this is all soldier tier. Yeah. There
Yes,
are
I
no
think.
levy, no like peasant levy archers. These are all yeah. Actually, now that I say it, that's something I'm curious about is how it like how strong
Like
are like how powerful is a noble levy? Because supposedly noble levies are stronger than other ones because they're nobles. But like, what tier do they become then when they show up as a levy?
I would assume noble levies are soldiers, if not
Well,
knights.
because usually noble
I
levies
would assume
are night
noble levies
like
are knights, considering that that's exactly what nobles would fill, historically speaking, because they were the only ones who could supply themselves a horse, let alone an armored horse.
mo yeah
Well, that's true. I wasn't sure if they'd all be knights though.
most of the that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Because some of them might not be, but in most of the examples we've seen so far, where like someone has a
But what
levied
we have
army.
here is 10 dudes who are abstractions of the larger army. So yes, not every single noble is bringing up a horse and in full plate, but in an army on the map, they might be represented as such.
Well, most of the examples that we've got of like someone has raised a levy army and they're showing us what it consists of. There are some of these levy units that are called mailed knights. So presumably those are from the noble estate, and yeah, I assume as a result they would also be a knight tier unit. And if you got enough of them, they would show up in a stack here. Um, but moving on from the soldiers to the yeah, yes, exactly. This is the professional army of Dithmarschen. They're the home guard of Dithmarschen. But then finally we get to knights,
Okay,
and
peasant soldiers. Okay, so the
whoo,
easiest way to tell if someone's a knight is by the helmet. Because to go back to the soldiers,
yeah, it's if you could see their damn face. What the hell?
no, no, no. It's the different types of helmets. Because these ones have like either the open helm or they've got their like plate hats.
The
with the wide
bucket.
brim.
The bucket hats. Yeah.
The bucket hat. That's what you call them. Yeah. So either that, or it's like an open guard. The knights are the ones with a closed guard. I see now.
I love all the different weapon variations we've got. There's a guy with a sword and no shield, just a but it's even that is so good too because he's got the mail gauntlet on his left hand without but and no shield, but his right arm isn't mailed, which is a very realistic thing because in when doing like sword on sword combat, you like if you've got a mailed gauntlet, you don't necessarily need a shield if you're defending against a sword because you can just grab or slap away the sword with your gauntlet because it ain't gonna do anything.
You'd also want your sword hand to be faster, so you wouldn't want to weigh it down with armor as much.
So yeah, you're less encumbered by with a shield that you don't need. But then as times advance and you get, I mean, when someone's coming at you with a mace, you can't block that with your hand. So that's what the puppy
Well, the
shields are
sword's
for.
sharp enough, or if you're using a pike.
But the nobles look amazing. These knights, oh, so good. I love these models. That guy's got a rapier? What the hell? Bro is wearing fully enclosed plate helmet and armor, and he's got a rapier.
Hey, Joffrey, if you thought CK3 Game of Thrones was going to take forever, EU5 Game of Thrones will not release for like another 10 years. They're going to spend all their time giving us the most epic-looking 3D models possible. They will make every single helmet we've seen in the show.
Don't make an EU5 Game of Thrones. Don't do
You
that.
never know. I think it's possible. We've got EU5 like Lord of the Rings.
What would you do? It's all one country. You would need to do the Age of Petty Kings and
I'm just saying, I wouldn't put it past them.
some have the Accolade CK3 elements. Yeah, yeah. They got the little thing around the head, little spinny. Oh, the horse people are a different country. Oh, the Iron Throne becomes the HRE, but that's not how it's supposed to work.
Actually, so true. No, in all seriousness, though, I would love to see an Age of Petty Kings Game of Thrones mod.
You're surprised we haven't
you,
already
right?
gotten a 50 forum thread over the figures' helmets being from slightly wrong time periods. Yes, this is ridiculous. That helmet was taken out of use 100 years before the game start. Okay, I would be in for the Age of Petty Kings though. Yeah, Gamalta. I said that because I kind of like that, but that wouldn't happen. Age of Petty Kings is only ever going to be in the Medieval 2 mod, and we're just going to have to cope with that. Yo!
Okay, who are these guys? Are these more peasants? Oh, no, those are peasants with guns.
Through the ages. Okay.
Yeah, so they've got like actual arquebusiers, or I don't know what guns those are.
Units will adopt a new visual age only when they are upgraded to a unit from that age, so your units won't instantly swap to Age of Reformation clothing the moment you enter the age. You'll first need to embrace the relevant institutions and research the advances required to upgrade your regiments. Here is an example of how European peasant levies develop. And then it's going to show professional troops.
Wait, Joffrey. This makes me realize something. The way they talked about upgrading, is it going to be like navies in EU4 where you have to spend money to upgrade them?
Well, peasants know because they're levies, so you'll just raise them presumably with their upgrades being had once you research them. But professional troops, yeah, I imagine so. I bet you will need to press a button to upgrade them and then choose what unit to upgrade them to. But this, yeah, the other little coats. This is kind of neat. They're all checking. Oh, they've got the thing. What is that called? The thing that you need to slide in to pack the powder into the gun.
I have no idea what it's called. But I thought you used that to the other direction. We're just supposed to go like down the whatever. Okay.
And then.
Ooh, I like how you can immediately see the difference in the troops because before they were all just like in different positions. Now they're like actually uniform.
These look like matchlocks Matchlock's like arquebusier kind of thing.
That's what I was thinking earlier, but I'm not sure.
But then here, yes, cow. I like cow and ship. The ships.
But yeah, in contrast to
So
the previous ones, these ones actually look like, an army. They're in a formation instead of just doing whatever they feel like.
yeah, it looks like a this I'm guessing this
Like
is
you can clearly see.
here is probably Age of Renaissance, arquebus handgunner levy thing. Um, then this is no
Age
no
of Discovery,
no.
maybe?
This is probably red. No, this is probably Discovery actually, because you wouldn't. I don't think. I doubt your levies would get upgraded to have guns in the Age of Renaissance. I think that's probably going to be saved for professional troops only. Age of Discovery is the
Okay.
first one. Yeah, I figure because this one here gives me big Age of Reformation vibes. This looks these people look very much like what I'd expect someone in the Age of Reformation to look. Yeah. But then afterwards, ooh, ooh.
See, now we're
So
talking.
absolutism's right after.
Yeah,
Absolutism after Reformation, I think. Then the
I think
last
so.
one is Revolution. So I love me tricorn hats. This is good.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. Looks such. They're so good. Yes. This is all amazing. Oh.
I just thought of something, Joffrey. Is there a reason why tricorn hats existed in this time period? Because you could rest the gun on the back part of the hat?
Huh.
The way they're holding the guns, right? I never thought about it before, but
I've never thought about it either. I just think they're neat hats. But I mean that whether that's the intended purpose or not, I mean, functionally that's what they're doing. I suppose. Hmm. Yeah, but these are these are great. Oh, okay. What did the final one look like? Revolutions. Oh, oh yes. Oh hell yeah.
they finally unlocked the bayonet technology.
Oh, this is so good.
Takes 400 years to learn how to use a bayonet.
I do. Yeah, they finally acquire bayonets. None of the other ones have them. Interestingly, yeah. Huh. I'm sure the professional soldiers will though, but we'll look at those in a second. But yeah, this is all just levy troops. But even the levies look awesome. Yeah. Parsons rise up. How
Also, Joffrey,
this is the average Paris commune meeting.
I was going to say, Joffrey, these are supposed to be levies, right? They're
Yeah.
just random people. How high is their standard of living that they can have like top hats and like fancy suits and such?
Well, presumably not all of them are peasants. Yeah. Levies, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're all peasants.
I was just comparing them to the people at the start of the game. Yeah, those
Well,
guys.
this
I'm
isn't
pretty sure
the,
this is the same like. I'm
this
sorry.
is game start. This is your game start levies. Which, yeah,
So the point I was trying to make is, if these are the same groups of people, their
most of
standard of
these
living is gonna kind of.
guys, most of these guys are definitely farmers, but I could definitely see some of them being burghers.
Yeah. So if most of them are farmers, that's a pretty high increase.
That's oh.
They gotta become somewhat wealthier, right?
Also, we associate these clothes with the wealthy now. Then it was less stratified. Well, I didn't exactly live in the time period, and I mean when you see when you see like yeah, I mean people would wear top hats and such. It's not like it was the most expensive to get that hat as opposed to another kind of hat. It was just a fashionable thing. Um, that is a good point. Yeah. There were, as with any other time period, the style of clothes of the time, and then there is the higher quality, more fancy versions that the upper classes would wear. Yeah.
Interesting.
The revolutionary ideal of strapping a dagger on a gun so you don't have to drop your gun to draw a dagger. It's just ridiculous.
No,
Professional
actually, you just
troops.
swing the gun at the person like a club.
You got your Landsknecht looking dudes from the age of Renaissance, presumably, all spearmen. Then they evolved. Yes, yes, handguns. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah. This is Age of Traditions melee focused army, but apparently you can choose whether your units are melee or ranged focus in the early couple ages. So presumably this is like, yeah, if you're
Do you
choosing
think guns in the Age of Traditions?
no, this is Age of Traditions army, but presumably this is an Age of Renaissance army that is choosing handguns as opposed to men at arms, because these guys are
Okay, that's what I
not
was
men
gonna
at
say. That
arms.
looks more like Renaissance.
That's a good point though. These guys do. They probably don't have unique now that I think about it, they probably don't have unique Age of Traditions men at arms.
Like, yeah, I doubt it. If they do, maybe I'm wrong, but
They go into discussion how the units are broken apart into regions and per how many per era in a bit.
Okay, because yeah, that's a good point. It might not just all be per age.
truly, let's just go to the red coats.
Oh dear.
I must see them.
Oh my goodness. That's gooftastic and I love it. English Civil War looking
What do you mean,
dudes.
Joffrey?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's beautiful.
true. Ooh.
Don't you love the 3 people that aren't wearing tricorns?
No, I do not. I do not love that fact. No. Here, like these guys are already looking like Napoleonic stuff, I think. But
They got the plumage, yeah.
that's the I'm no expert on the time period, but this is the sort of clothing I associated with it.
Oh yeah, like that. Same here. I associate a lot of this tall, like officer caps and the feathers and such.
Huh. There's still 3 more, like including this one. That's weird.
Huh. Well, I don't assume this is going back to the previous era, because look at the hats.
And then suddenly everyone's wearing
Oh,
tricorn
yeah.
hats.
That's what we
Huh.
call the active uniformity.
Yes, this is what happens if you press the decision. Yes. That doesn't look too different. The last 2.
Oh no, I think that's showing the different uniformity levels. Because you can see in the last one, they all look the exact
Oh,
same.
shit.
The previous one,
Yeah.
minor differences.
I wasn't. Yeah, this is skipping ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
This
literally
is
just like
showing.
making them more uniform.
This is
Those
showing
are
the
professional
same
ones.
4. These 4 images are the ways that it changes over
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I was
Okay.
saying, Joffrey. They weren't going back to the tricord after adopting the new hat.
This is in fact yeah, the Napoleonic era. Yeah. Good. Okay. Unit appearances are also modified by a hidden system we call uniformity, which is essentially a calculation of discipline experience, army tradition, and whether they are levies or regular troops. As a regiment gains uniformity, they will gradually progress towards the ideal look for your country, which is generated from your primary culture. Most countries' ideal is randomly generated. Oh, so it picks a specific like. So like when you load up the game. Huh. So like some specific countries have an ideal that is chosen for the way they're gonna look, but other countries will have it randomly chosen.
I'm
Like,
not sure which ones you would do for things like the Delhi Sultanate, but for example, the English is the most obvious one. You've got your
Yeah.
very stereotypical red coat, and you'd expect everyone to look like it, but obviously they won't because not all of them will have the same equipment. But if you increase your uniformity, you can make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Imagine what like a higher uniform. What is a max uniformity peasant gonna look like?
Well,
If
they
it's
say it down
impossible.
here in the next paragraph.
Historically speaking, most peasants' levies were not pitchfork wielders, but were typically outfitted with a minimum of cheap weaponry and often a helmet. With uniformity, we represent the full range, from squishy farmers to ironclad gendarme. As they climb higher up the uniformity scale, the more they will draw from the soldier pool of assets, taking a helmet here, a polearm there, until they're fully outfitted for war. Ah, that is really nice. So that means that the levies of, say, the Teutonic Order are not. You're not going to have any levies of the Teutonic Order realistically looking like this, because they're already starting with a ton of discipline. So that means that their units are all they're gonna have a pretty regulated style.
Yeah, and in a
already.
comment, they even specifically say that the military orders are specifically set up that they will look like conventional crusading knights. So
That's so good. It's so damn good. I am gonna jump in. I can't help myself. Then I need to play as the Hospitallers. Knights of Saint John must take they must take Anatolia and then the Holy Land. We'll stop Big Turk before it happens. I mean, that's technically too late, but you stop it now before it gets worse. This is our last chance. Yes, I love me boat knights. Uniformity is just the way of, yeah. It's I suppose it's just the way that they visually represent the concept of professionalism from yeah, all the various factors that you have indicating how professional your army is, which is very nice. I am already thinking of there's going to be some races in our mod that will have modifiers up for positive and negative discipline. Coincidentally, the main race I had in mind that has a lot of levies also has no discipline. But the elves also probably would have quite a bit of levies and discipline at the same time. Levies are their primary culture. That's probably something that elves would have, is like a bonus to levies of their culture, but negative levies of other cultures and higher discipline. Yeah. Furthermore, some elements will look fancier if you have higher uniformity. For example, raw leather straps get blackened or whitened, and some wigs become powdered. Foreign culture units in your employ will gradually adopt elements of your primary culture's clothing as they become more uniform. That's also so cool. Oh, oh, that's so good. Oh, so this means, yeah, that that would pose a problem if we were trying to represent how tall the different races in our setting are. So that might have to come later. But earlier on, at least, we can mess with the skin tones more, at least. Hmm. Visual cultural dominance, yes. Yes. Dude, I need to play I've got to. I now have the powerful urge to as Molly conquer all of West Africa. No, it can't be. Mali would take too long though. It's got to be Morocco because Morocco is one of my first countries I want to play. So I got to as Morocco, just um, you got to just consume Iberia and southern Italy as Morocco, and then you gotta you gotta ramp up your discipline and get all of the all of the European cultured dudes in your levies dressed up in your Arabic clothes. You hope the other culture stuff tied to cultural tradition would be a neat way to show that. That's interesting. I doubt it would, but it's an interesting thought for sure. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's more distinctively uniform in design until they're all standing in a yeah, because here they're all just vaguely in a line and they're wearing pretty distinctive outfits, but then here they're standing relatively close together. It's a pretty decent line with minor differences here and there. There's only one guy who's wearing a different style of hat, and then their uniforms are more or less the same. But then here they're all wearing exactly the same custom-made outfit and standing very distinctly at a uniform distance. It's great. Late game Japan's units look. Dude, I want to see samurai models in this. I want to see a 30
God.
stack. I want to see a I mean, they've got East Asian, okay, they say, but I would love to see a Japanese stack that is like split between Ashigaru. Where you got peasants, Ashigaru, and samurai as the three distinctions. Straight from the rice fields.
Yeah, fair.
Yep.
The way they're splitting their 7 archetypes, they're almost certainly giving country clothing packs later.
Yeah, yeah. They'll definitely add Japanese one later, but probably with other flavor expansions for Japan. That would make sense, and I would throw money at them for that for sure. Gib,
See,
please.
my guess is for like the first few flavor packs, you're going to have Japan as one,
Mhm.
and for the others, I think it'll be either France or like Wet Mali for West. I'm trying to think about this. 'Cause it's gonna be some of like the easily recognizable people.
Central American and North American have some. South American presumably uses the Central American ones, I guess. Then Ottomans will look Arabic, sadly. Ha! Hey, hey,
Oh,
at
then they might
least
give a Turkish flavor pack.
at least the Ottomans aren't in the Levant culture group anymore. Take that and accept it for now. We'll get there. Giving the British Isles and French GFX for sure, yeah. But initially, just like here's an example of like this is a max uniformity, probably British unit, and like I am perfectly fine with this for now. Like the evolution of as they said they've got they're probably going to be able to by and large represent a lot of the different types of units you'd have because if you take them recolor them and like swap out their hat and like that's because they've said like there's a bunch of different hat like you can see all the different hats and they've said that yeah so the countries will have some countries will have a predefined ideal that will be what they're aiming for. I wonder like so what if you played like Anjou you played Anjou and Unite France, presumably you wouldn't have the same uniformity desired outcome as the France tag. So if you united France underneath the Anjou culture, people would use your slightly different uniform. How does the Aztecs with guns look if they're not ruled by the Spanish? I am very curious. I want to see what those ones look like for sure. But I guess they're probably not showing us them. We'll see. But yeah. 7 main graphical archetypes, also primary way we divide several other parts of the game, such as character portraits, city buildings, event illustrations, and UI skins. These archetypes. Oh, so they're doing it's everything. Oh shit. Yeah.
Yep, these are essentially the 7 visual pots.
No wonder earlier today, Vector, you were DMing me. USA, because the North Americans, who there's the Navajo, there's Cahokia and the Iroquois, and those are the only playable North American tags or factions, collections of tags, and they have a unique one.
Ex-colonial nations in North America, I think, will also get them.
They'll probably, I mean, they'd probably just have the European one.
Maybe. I'm a little skeptical because, as I sent in the message I sent you, the screenshot, they said the reason they have a North American one is because of the USA market. So
That's what I was gonna say. There's no way they're not giving US specific clothing eventually, if not already.
Eventually, maybe, but like the North American one's not going to be for North American colonial nations. That's going to be for the natives, because also in the screenshot you sent, that was them saying that it's because people play the natives and colonies. So, yeah. Can't wait for
I
the.
imagine these will be further subdivided in the future, but this is what they're going for at launch.
Yeah, yeah. Can't wait for the Blackfoot Walls DLC. Eric, Eric, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. The Blackfoot Wall DLC's gonna happen. We just need to believe, and all of our dreams can become reality. It's true. It's because it's everyone. Everyone wants the Blackfoot to be playable. But trust. It's not just me. It's not just me. Everyone wants it. So it wouldn't just be me. That would be ridiculous. Audio will reflect the visuals. You can hear the army, peasants wearing light cloth, plate troops brandishing steel. Yeah. Here's some examples of the non-European units, even though some of them are still lacking a bit in the polish department. Ooh! Ooh! This is pretty. I like this hat. Whatever this is, I want that. I want one of these. Whatever this thing is. I like it. Pretty. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Weird. What have they done to their guns? This is strange. There's a lot to take in here.
To not have hair. Did I miss something?
I yeah, the Native Americans are like they're shaved at the back with just hair in the front. What?
I don't like this. I don't get this at all.
What is going on here? I mean, I like the knife though in the front. That's neat. But what are these things? These aren't hairstyles, surely. Naruto hair? Yeah. Surely this isn't hair. It can't be hair. I think it might be, though. But like they said, they were lacking in the polish department still, so fair enough. Ooh, we're cooking with this. Yo, they got basket shields and carved out wooden clubs and wolf furs and... Yo. Yeah, they got wooden bracers on their knees, too. The cone heads. Damn. Truth is stranger than fiction sometimes when it comes to uniforms, huh? Kebab. Kebab. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at these. The brass blunderbuss. This is so weird looking. Look at these brass blunderbusses with like it opens up. Oh, this is so weird. They're definitely shoving all sorts of sticks and rocks in there. That's what this gives me the vibes of. Jeez. Um. Finally, battles will not just look like two dudes shooting each other. Now there will be way more dudes shooting each other. They're
I
just the
can't wait to
gnome
try to
troops.
look at a province and it'll just be covered by dudes, so you won't be able to see anything.
I mean, you remember how dense I'm drawing the provinces? This will barely fit on some of my provinces.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It'll be great.
It will be spilling over. You'll no. How is you're gonna have two port? You'll have a massive stack on two port. It will not fit. They'll all be spilling out into the sea. Oh, jeez. This took way longer to discuss than I thought. Maybe I shouldn't have said that we were going to talk about Sweden afterwards, because this has already been almost an hour, and we're about to look at the comments now. More pics and dev comments. I might have to take the France part out of this video. Jeez. Hmm. Indian and Austronesian. Huh. Indian and Austronesian.
By the way, I'll probably be going now. Uh, I didn't I didn't realize we are gonna do Sweden as well. I was probably thinking about eating dinner or doing something else
All right.
eventually.
I was planning on doing Sweden, but I didn't think it was going to take this long to do this. So I think I'll have to cut that one out for another time. Yeah.
Damn. Surely we just do Sweden tomorrow.
What is something else coming out tomorrow?
I don't know. What's the schedule looking like?
Did you look at the height map? There was a height map? There's no way that
I'll
they
come back.
they released a height
I
map.
gotta go. Come back.
Okay, see you. The top image of what? Oh, you still mean in here? This thing? Oh, that's what you mean. I mean, yeah. We talked about this a little bit before we started. I guess this is technically the height map, yeah. It's some of the first that we've seen of the height map, other than uh, what we've seen from the gameplay videos, which half the time didn't show the height map because they were playing with the graphics turned off. The textures are definitely yes. They need lots of work still. But this looks better than what my map is gonna look like when I release my mod, I'm sure. Completely changed the height map since the videos. Is that so? Huh. So is this are y'all saying you don't like this? You don't like this one? Hmm.
I much prefer this one.
So because this is the new one.
Yeah, and the terrain is much more stark. It has much more life to it as a result.
I didn't really I mean, it does look really good, but I just don't know what to compare it to. I didn't see all that much height map stuff beforehand. So, changed some days ago. The world height map to the Imperator style of realism in a dev comment. I see. Compared to the Steam images. Oh. Let me turn off my camera because Europa Universalis. Europa Universalis 5. Or some images other than like Japan. I mean the image of Steam of like the Byzantines, those look pretty similar. I'm honestly just not seeing a whole lot of images of height map stuff in the Steam page. Most of it's pretty flat areas, relatively speaking. This is a big exception. I guess Japan's a good example though. They did show Japan and it was not really, yeah, not really much. Get back to that one, see it again. Yeah, it's pretty flat despite what Japan is. That's a good point. Okay. So it's a case of I am looking at um I'm looking at the Steam images and I'm seeing when I'm looking at the Steam images and I'm seeing a lack of height, it's because the old one just didn't have a lot. Yeah. Before it was just a 3D terrain they'd made without height maps. Oh. Oh. Sheesh. But something I will definitely say is that this look for mountains and such is going to be much easier for me to model in a mod because well okay it's going to take time to carve out rivers and stuff. This is going to take some work but to make it look good. But there's some places in my setting where there are some absolutely monstrous mountain ranges. Absolutely absurdly large mountain ranges. Because fun for two reasons. One, it means that you can play around more with mountain passes getting snowed in and stuff. That stuff is cool. And second of all, everyone loves underground stuff. So we want to play around with having a lot more different types of underground environments than just cave. So that's going to be one thing that we'll get to play around with more. And this is my long-winded way of saying when you look at this is going to be in CK. Most of the mountains in CK, as opposed to this style, are very sharp. They're very. There is a big mountain, and then it just is gone. But here it's a much more flowing, you know. Yeah, the mountain flows up into existence and it kind of bumps and up and down, up and down. But provinces drawn over these aren't going to look so disgusting, is the point. Because in CK3, when you've got big old mountain ranges, like we got the Misty Mountains and Realms in Exile, for example, it's pretty tough to make provinces look nice over those because they get slanted at weird angles and it's hard to click on stuff sometimes. But this will be much nicer to work with. Yes, a really big rake would probably be very nice to carve out some rivers. Yeah, yes. Well said. Well said. Mm-hmm. Does modding allow to add new archetypes? Good. Of course, good. 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 Jeez. Hmm. New height map. Yeah, the new height map's looking good for sure. Achievements next week. Changelog in 2 and the game releases on the 3rd. No. 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 That's what someone who was releasing the game on the 3rd would say. Uh, what is this about achievements next week and changelog in 2? Were they saying that at the end of the Sweden one, maybe? Maybe. They'll definitely need to do the Sweden one soon. But yeah, I don't. I'm not gonna. I got other stuff I want to do today, unfortunately. Other than yap forever, tragically. There is a Chinese channel that played Yuan, but sadly it showed only the terrain of the coastal areas, not this new height map update. Yeah, inland China has definitely got some big ups and downs. So that would have been nice to see. Unfortunate. Ah, yes, they didn't show us any elephants. Very sad. Ooh, ooh, code. As a unit sprite modder of EU2 and a unit modeler of EU4, I'm super excited for this new graphics system. It gives so much opportunity for the depths of graphics modding. How does the code part of graphics work? So, we assign GFX tags that check in order. For example, longbowman. So GFX tags, longbow tag, and then archer tag, light tag. So this is checking for different types, like how it assigns the different types of clothing, I guess, because it's assigning archer clothing, and it's light archer clothing, and then on top of that, it also has longbow to add like whatever unique stuff the longbowmen have, like I guess the longbow, and then pikes have pike, and then medium armor, and ooh, why didn't they show us Gallo Glass? This is very sad. Gallo Glass have Gallo Glass tag and heavy. We then assign 3D assets to each tag, and it checks the first tag. If there's an asset available, it grabs it. So it first checks things in the Gallo Glass tag. What is assigned to that? And it grabs that. Otherwise, it selects the second one. So a longbowman is assigned by having it checks longbows, so that means it'll use the weapon because the longbow tag will have assigned to it the bow, and so it will give all the units that weapon, and then it will go on to the next stuff and fill out the rest of it with random stuff there based on uniformity. And then the pike, again, everyone gets stuff from the pikes, so there could be different types of pikes. And then fill it out with random stuff for medium. And then Gallo Glass, presumably for Gallo Glass, there is a type of axe. It will just be like, here's we want you to use these types of axes, presumably. Big weapon. And then heavy. Very, very exciting. Very exciting stuff to mess around with. I'm going to have a lot of fun, I'm sure, when it comes to modding, being able to just make my own tag and then assign it to a unit if I want that particular unit to just have some specific assets. That will be a lot of fun to mess around with for sure. If you can make your own tags, it'll be crazy. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, if you can make if there's a Gallo Glass tag, then yeah, you could make your own for sure. There's no way you couldn't in this context. So yeah, you would definitely then be able to. Yeah, we then assign 3D assets to each tag. It checks the first tag. Yeah, grabs it. Yeah, yeah. That's gonna be really cool to mess around with. There is one spot in our setting. It's kind of like a line across part of our map where most of the people in that area are kind of stuck in the Bronze Age. It's in an almost like parallel advancement that's taking place, but without abandoning bronze. And I would definitely need to get some unique 3D assets for that region, and as a result, I would assign to all the custom unit, all like the units in that area. I'd probably have to assign to make some custom tags that would say, all right, bronze or something. Not certain how I do it, but that's the sort of thing I'd look for. Also, for racial stuff, probably there's a way when there's like stuff that like a specific race uses in our setting that would have to be a tag somewhere. GFX tag, Wagon Wizard tag, exactly, exactly. Wagon Wizard tag. God, I don't know. Oh, how the hell would you make a war cart model? There's not going to be chariot models. How would you do it? No, Joshua, what are you doing? Ugh. Huge for fantasy mods. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be unhinged. It's going to be a lot of fun to mess around with, but I at least am going to have to probably I'm going to have to spend a lot of money on commissioning stuff, I imagine. I highly doubt that war carts are already modeled. There's no way that they have a model because for the Hussite war wagons. There is no way. If they do, I will have a field day with it, but there's no way. I have no faith. I have none faith. I want to see these arquebusiers. It's a pikeman. Early arquebusier. Nice, nice. In Morocco, yes. Yeah. Please wait for Bohemia flavor DLC. Oh, you cease, cease. uh, I say that, but hey, if so, I'll take it. I'll take it. Oh yeah, you can mix and match your units. You can choose specifically which ones to recruit. It's been stated. One of the YouTubers, as George was saying, yeah, one of the YouTubers who got their hands on the game was talking about how generally each age there is there is a default for that age melee focused one and range focused one where there will be a tech that and you can choose. So like this even includes later on in the game there will be units that are focused more on once firearms become the standard you'll get to make some of your units it will become a case of the melee choice, quote unquote, will just become line infantry, and then you'll get skirmishers as the more ranged choice. Yeah, you will in fact have pike and shot armies. If you don't have a pike and shot army, you will be less effective once pike and shot becomes the norm because you won't have the variety of troops. Yeah, because the melee troops, the advantage of the melee troops is that they can take more hits and they'll get into combat faster, and the ranged troops, I don't remember, but they also have a benefit. I think they focus on morale damage with guns, but I'm not certain. Yeah. I've got yeah I'm gonna have an absolute blast when it comes to making specific modded units. I know we've had a couple discussions in our Discord server about what plans we have for how we want to handle mages. I've discussed them a little bit on YouTube, but yeah we've got some plans in the oven that yes they're being cooked very finely for what we want to do with mage units. Now, the psychic units, on the other hand, are going to be another question entirely. FPS, yeah. Designing the various variations within a culture, even deciding what materials they use, is like 90% script. The hard bit is making the new 3D models. Yeah, exactly. The easy thing will be just scripting new tags and stuff. That'll be pretty darn easy, all things considered. And most of the time it's not even going to be. You won't even really need it most of the time because the game is just going to randomly generate it. It's going to randomly when a new tag is created, it's going to randomly generate their ideals as well. So most of it you won't even need to touch. It'll just be flavor stuff you can add yourself. But of course new 3D models are going to be the tough bit, and that's where the commissions are going to eat good. Uh, EU5 going to be the Paradox's flagship for the next decade, possible too. Yeah, yeah, this is going to be an insanely big game. Even some of the people like the YouTubers you'd expect to be critical of the game are only minorly critical. There's only a couple people that are just being rather nitpicky at this point, honestly. Hearts of Iron is even slightly decent. Nah, nah. Hearts of Iron 5 won't be able to touch this game. Because Hearts of Iron 4 is really it's the most played game, but while Hearts of Iron is the most played game of Paradox, EU4 is their most famous game. EU4 has always been it has been their flagship game, and EU5 is going to become their new flagship game. It is the thing they're known for. Lots of people play Hearts of Iron, but it just isn't as known, despite that fact. Hearts of Iron is the most played, but isn't the flagship, which represents the core of the company. Yeah. EU5, especially now, even more than EU4 was already, EU5 is just the coalescence of all of their various things. It is that center point, that focal point that covers just a very wide breadth of time and systems, and it's that just bit that shows like what they are capable of at their best. And also the most DLC, but usually it was good until it just all became mission trees. Such is the way of things. This is going to be Johan's magnum opus, yes, for sure. Unfortunately, they didn't show us any horse units, yes, or elephants. Most countries take the color of their flag. Yeah, that makes sense. Why do peasants in the other picture? Age of Discovery peasants, so matchlock levies. Yeah, cool, cool. So that's 2 ages into the game. Well, it's the 3rd age. Yeah, actually 3rd age into the game. The ideal. We're not going to do that for all tags in the game. Yeah, that makes sense. The system is designed to work well with this sort of idea if we ever were to make Scottish unit models. Yeah, because they can just assign a tag that says Scottish, so it just assigns a kilt. Yeah. Which is the funny thing, that would be awesome if they do add Scottish units. If they add the Scottish unit, like they do just a British Isles pack, where it just adds some various design elements for the various cultures in the British Isles, because that would then mean if you're playing as Scotland and you conquer the British Isles, the more uniformity you get, the more all of your levies and professional troops from the other British Isles cultures would start to adopt your style as well. So all of your professional English troops would still wear kilts, because it's just part of the Scottish army uniform. They do, okay, I say if, but they will. They will 100% do it at some point, yeah. Scott's malding right now. Yeah, they like pretending to be Highlanders. Oh, shush, George. Just because they all got anglicized long before they realized it doesn't mean that they're coping. It's fine. Not against unit graphics packs in this case. Far more dudes on the map instead of a single dude. I will. For normal EU4, I was pretty just whenever there was a new. It's like, oh, content pack. We'll give you one song, and 3 unit models for Hanover. Oh, joy! But this is going to be fantastic. I will if there's a DLC that's like, oh, here's a song and a bunch of different like unit elements that are applied to the various cultures in the British Isles. Hell yeah! I want all my tiny men to be wearing these different outfits. I want some unique element that
Bring forth the funny hats.
Bring forth the funny hats. Yes, I want a funny hat that's specific to the Norse Gaels or the what the heck was that culture called? That's a hybrid between Norse or like the Norwegians in Scotland. What was that called? I don't remember. Norn. That's what it's
called.
You're
talking about. It's
Norn.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, what the hell?
It's called Norn.
Norn, that's what it is. Yeah.
Norse Gael in the Isles and Man, because the Isle of Man is a tag at Game Start, and it is the Isle of Man and the Isles are two different Norse Gael tags, which is great. But there's also Norn culture. It's so dumb. Yeah, I would love if it's purely artistic. Just give me more funny hats for my tiny men. I'll pay money for that, especially if they add music for it as well. Like a content pack that is just the unit graphics. If they add a DLC, dude, I'm just gonna like at this rate, I need to just make a video glazing EU5 and telling them that this is how they can take my money the best. Because if they made a DLC, if they started doing a DLC model for EU5, which is just hey, here's just some new funny hats and like sashes or whatever the heck, bits and bobs for various cultures, and it's like, well, if you're a tag of this culture, you'll have this little special thing. If you're Bretons, here the Bretons have this now, and they share this in common with the Welsh or something, or in the Cornish, because that's neat. And then they also just give you like a few songs as well, any of that sort of thing, dude. Just give legitimate horse armor DLC, the men armor DLC. It's like CK3 flavor pack cost. It might inflate the price of the combined gameplay DLC cost. I don't. Yeah, I would prefer they keep them separate. I prefer to have them separate because they had them together earlier on and it really inflated the price. Yeah, but then later on when they ran out of content to add and just started adding like music and mission trees, that was appreciated because you just knew you didn't need them if you just wanted the core gameplay expansions. Yeah, Vector sent me this thing. This is the thing Vector messaged me earlier today when I was asleep because I was sleeping until the afternoon today because I'm a goon. The USA because dude,
USA
replace North American with Southeast Asian. Such foolishness. Huh. The North American, the Plains natives deserve to have unique unit models as opposed to the Mexicans. Or well, like, as opposed to being stuck with the Mexican ones. Yeah. Levies drawn from soldier and noble pops will look heavier than levies drawn from peasant and laborer pops. That's so cool! That's so cool! Now, what I want to know is if they, because it says they will look heavier, but what actually do they get raised as? Because we know that noble levies, we were just talking about earlier, like noble levies, you can get mailed knights at the beginning of the game as a type of levy that's presumably from the nobles. But then what is the difference between, like, what is a clerical levy? Surely you're not actually recruiting clergymen. Like, what is, like, the difference between, you got peasants, burghers, soldiers, yeah, but, like, what are all these? Burghers have a higher amount of crossbowmen. I need my Genoese crossbowmen, George. Surely you understand, George. Yes. We need if I'm playing Genoa, I gotta have my actually it's gotta be Milan. I gotta conquer Genoa as Milan and then get Genoese crossbowmen. If you know, you know, and you're a real one for it. Maces and cure light wounds. What? Uh, the military orders get special crusader units that look like proper knights rather than peasants. That's because the levies. Okay, this is the thing. I don't want levies from holy orders to look like knight brothers. I would be very disappointed if holy order levies actually get dressed up as knight brothers. That would be a little wrong because that's not how that works. They have a specific there's a specific category for order members that are not knights as well. So not all of their troops should look like knights, but I understand and will accept because it looks really cool if in the end they like you have lots of discipline and uniformity, it means that all of your troops end up looking like knights, but they should look like hedge knights. That's true as well. A lot of them should just look like random assortments of knights. But then again, that's from lack of discipline. Having a higher uniformity value should increase them looking like the same style of knight. Uh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. You got to have 50 events driving army tailors up the wall, denying all the designs. Yeah, yeah. You've got to force them to all wear the exact same uniform that you invented. Yeah, yeah. They should. South Americans should definitely use the Mesoamericans as opposed to the North American ones. Disappointed by lack of artillery models? Well, here's some. It's a big boom. Got some boomsticks. And some archers with composite bows. Foot archers with composite bows and a big old shield on their back. Very interesting. It's English, too. They got no food, though. Hmm. No, will it support modding in fantasy creatures and races, or will they have to look similar to base creatures? More or less whatever you like. If you know how to export models with animations, our elephants and artilleries, for example, don't rely on pre-existing creatures. That's a good point. They're not also just human models.
Not only do you need modelers, Joffrey, you also need animators.
Yeah, I need the rigging. I need the rigging too. Because like, elves will be easy. They'll be so easy. But then you come to like the races that are different sizes and you start to be a little like, uh-oh.
How on earth are we going to adequately convey the majestic terror of a Giat charge?
Yes. Dude, they all need to be flying. How do you represent? They all need to be fucking flying around. Flip, 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 flip. They just drop on you.
Flappy boys.
They're the flappy boys, yeah. Just do NATO blocks for the models. Thank you, Gamalt. You've given me permission, now they'll all just be NATO blocks, yeah. Actually, now that I talk about things being smaller, I know that like Anbanar, for example, all like they use the same like attack animations and stuff for their kobolds. The kobolds have the same just spear and shield for their like initial one as just a normal like the Indian models have shields and spears, I think. So they just took that animation and applied it on top of that. So like the smaller ones, realistically, you can just scale it down. Mind you, I don't know how that works, but I'll have to pay someone who does. But I'll be glad to do it. I will be glad to pay someone who does. I'm not going to be glad for the amount that it's going to cost, but I will definitely pay someone to do that shit because I want this to look good. Also, it's gonna be such a pain getting like the rock dudes. Oh, and the bugs. Yeah, the lobsters. Yeah, it's gonna be painful, but Pencil all over the place. Yeah, I already have that with the low uniformity. They're all spaced out, and yeah. Oh, that's an interesting question about units adjusting to local conditions. Yeah. If we end up with enough assets, colonist pith helmets are a bit late. There's uh that's it's interesting. That yeah the this is reminding me of Empire Total War. In Empire Total War, you can recruit units overseas. The line infantry you recruit overseas is different uh depending on where. So like in India, as a European, you're recruiting different types of line infantry that are like used to the weather is the idea. So once you get a foothold there, it's easier to it's easier to hold it if you actually recruit the units that are used to it. Hmm. Thing. Holes in the water supposed to be docks. Unexploited harbor. Unique units receive their own model or assets like Janissaries, Wing Hussars. We don't have specific plans for non-generic units, but the system allows for that kind of detail. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Age of Reformation horse boys. Look at them. Look at these goons. Oh my goodness. These precious Age of Reformation horsies. Oh no. Oh, these poor guys. It's a heart, yes. Hmm. Most countries will have random units, or that most countries regional generic. Austria will have Austria specific. On release, we don't have any specific assets made for specific tags or cultures. It's all continental archetypes. Okay, yeah. Properly unique assets will be something to be worked on later. Yes, of course. Use same assets for the European traditions, peasants, and European residents. Yeah, because it's like the same time. Like the Age of Traditions like ends almost immediately. So yeah. Oh, so rather than Traditions and Renaissance having three separate ones, they have a combined six. Oh, that's actually really good. I like that then. So they decided that they still made a bunch of them, but they're just combined across the period. That's good. Snow appears in winter, and we have specific particle effects. Nice, nice. Hmm. Talking about art/models is usually a sign of dev diaries coming to the end and release being close. Wink. It's more that this week we came to the end of unit model sprinting and just wanted to share our progress. Okay, okay, okay. Well, if they say so, okay. I mean, personally, I still think that the game's coming out at the end of the year. I don't think it would come out quite so soon. Um, uh, yeah, I do think that it will be. Yeah, at the end of the year, I bought. Yes, I'm thinking November, December, late November, early December kind of thing. Yeah, it's our Christmas gift. They're talking about Scottish, yeah, Scottish stuff again. Yeah. Pikemen are the main unit even in the following age. Yeah, yeah. Matchlocks will exist as a type of professional troop you can get, but that doesn't mean that you want them all the time. Yeah.
They're meant to be used in conjunction with pikes, not
Yeah.
to replace them at that point.
Mind you, of course, I fully intend there is one particular faction in our mod that is going to have a primarily matchlock army from get-go, and it will just progressively get better guns from there. But that's a topic for another time. Imaginary regiments counted. Okay, if I have a 30-100 size regiment, 3,000 men, will there be 30 units on the map? No, especially late game or in huge countries with large amounts of levies, armies can become over 100 regiments, so that wouldn't work very well. Instead, we first estimate the current expected median army size, so it changes through the ages. Then armies compare themselves to that when choosing how big they appear. So a unit of 15 units isn't exactly 15 regiments, but instead represents the median army size. An army that appears with 3 units doesn't necessarily mean it has 3 regiments, but shows that it is dramatically below the median army size. The idea is that you can always more or less intuitively tell how big an army is just by looking at it. Okay. But theoretically, does that mean, okay, does this mean, because I think that the expected army size, excuse me, I think that the expected army size is something that is global, but I hope, and I kind of hope it is now that excuse me, now that I see this, because if it's not global and is instead tied to both the age and some country-specific stuff, then that will be very annoying because it won't be easy to tell the difference when you look at a country like Delhi, because if Delhi has different modifiers for what its expected army size is, then how will looking at it tell you, oh, this is how big its army is? Because if it's a global modifier that is just every age expected size goes up, then it will be easier for you to, as a European, look at Delhi's army size and be like, holy shit, they have absolutely enormous armies, because they'll show up as big stacks on the map. That would be nice, but mm. Mm. Yeah, but scale, so the average amount of men in the group goes up slightly as the game goes on, just because it feels right that late game armies are on average visibly larger. Yeah. Except I imagine that in the East they probably are at game start already going to look very large. Colonial nations, New World subjects will have the American. What happens if they break free? For colonial nations, normal rules apply. Their army appearance is depending on the culture of the pops that the army is derived from, with the primary culture of the colonial nation for uniformity. So if you are a colonial nation of New England, ruling over Iroquois people, and you call them to war in your levies, the regiments will appear as Native American ethnicity people wearing partially Native American clothing, and the amount of English clothing relative to their uniformity stat. So there is our answer, Vector. Yes. It takes the culture, so the European culture sphere is that it is all the tags with those cultures will use that style.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But that.
Although the notion of any colony, just drafting the natives as levies for their armies is a weird image in my mind. There were native auxiliary units and allied units all the time, but just I don't know. The United States with its mighty Iroquois militia just feels odd.
I don't think there would be many, because if the United States conquers the Iroquois, the Iroquois are probably going to disappear pretty quick, because
Well, and this is after, the great dying has happened where they get hit with that plague that wipes out 95% of the starting population.
they're gonna all just after they get hit with that cocktail of horribleness, there's going to be so few of them left that by the time they get colonized, there's not going to be enough of them to outpopulate the European pops, and as such, there's not going to be many of them that show up. So I think that partially is the reason that it doesn't sound right, because there just weren't enough of them for that to historically be a relevant thing. Third Odyssey is ported. There should definitely be a. I would love to see a third Odyssey mod. I've never played it myself, but the concept is just outlandish enough to be hilarious to me.
Third Odyssey is fantastic. The amount of narrative and custom events they've gotten there is astonishing.
This is also true, Eric, because back when the British were still in charge, that would have been when the natives were a little more relevant population comparison wise, and they still were they were pretty hands off when it came to how they interacted with the natives. So that also definitely would play a factor. And I guess that just carries over into the way the United States dealt with them, which is just they're separate or they integrate. Yeah, and at that point, then it's not really a. At that point, if they've assimilated, then it's not really a Native American person. It's an American citizen who just is ethnically Native. So potato potato at that point. But at this point, this has been 95 minutes of talking about the unit models, which I did not expect to happen. So I'm gonna change the name real quick of this stream, because I don't think we can talk about Sweden today. Gonna be honest. So with that, the name. The name has been changed of the stream. Very sad, I know. I'm sorry. But all this talking about mapping stuff. Yes, we don't have time to talk about that now, Joffrey, concerning Sweden. I don't. Yes, yeah, that's exactly. I don't talk about GFX in Sweden. It's now just we just discuss unit GFX. Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about, Eric. It's just, we're not talking about Sweden at all. That was never suggested at all. It's not on the thumbnail. Not on the thumbnail. Mm-hmm. Never meant. No, never talked about. Never. Clear your mind. That is a ridiculous notion. All of this. All of this talking about EU5 makes me really want to get back to my project of preemptively. I have been preemptively mapping out the map for the mod in CK3 in advance of EU5, because hopefully I'll be able to convert that province map over to EU5. Haven't seen EU5's code, but we'll see. And even if it doesn't work out, it'll be good practice for me. So that's something I really want to get back to now that this is finished. So yes, Sweden, the thumbnail crossed out. Yes. But yes, for now, I shall bid you all adieu as I head off to do some more painting of maps. So thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time when perhaps we'll talk about Sweden tomorrow. We'll see. Bye bye.